Hey, what's going on, everybody? How many of you are collecting data on your website and doing absolutely nothing with it? Like zilch, zip, zero. You have a form on your website, you're collecting name, phone number, email address. It can be a Google form, it can be an embedded form on your website, it could be going to Zoho or one of those type applications, and you're doing absolutely nothing with it. This video is for you. All right, let me bring my microphone closer. My microphone is too far away. So, good audio. For this particular video, I'm going to show you some basic workflow automations that I've been working on for the last few weeks. I'm just going to show you one that's actually actively in development, but this should give you a really good idea of what you can do to 10x or 100x your website and get those extra set of helping hands on your websites. Now, before I jump into this video, make sure you go ahead and do the thing to like and to subscribe to this particular video or this particular channel, and put your comments below so I know what to talk about next, or I can provide you some guidance on that next step that you're going to do with your website. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. So typically, so this particular workflow that I'm doing right now, this is for a client onboarding. So typically when a client is onboarded, there's several steps that they have to do. First, you have to collect some information about them. Then you have to add it to your project board. After you add it to your project board, you may have to create the agreement. Then you may have to send out the billing and the finances. That's a whole lot of steps. That's a lot of time. That can take over a day, and it can take several people to do that. And what I'm about to show you, you can condense that into a matter of minutes, like literally, I kid you not. So the form that I have up right now is just a standard Google Doc form. So pretty much you have your form. I have some dummy data in here, but basically what happens is you fill out your form. It could be on your website or a Google Doc, and then that form gets uploaded into a Google Sheet, or which is going to be our database for this instance. Excuse me. So the cool thing about today's technology is that everything's a website. Everything's a website. Remember back in the day when you used to download programs and have to install an exe file and or get the DVD or the CD and install that app? Well, everything being a web app allows the developers to do some really cool stuff. One of the things being is be able to talk to each other better. So some background as I'm just filling out this form. So, okay, who's closing the deal? What's today's date? Today's date is today. Boom. Client's first name, Donald. Last name, Duck. Client email, dd at the webpage site.com. Property managed, let's see, www.dd.com. And legal business name, Duck Inc. Client business address, let's say he hangs out with the Sesame Street crew. And client business city, New York. He has a condo up there. State and why. Now, all of these form fields that I'm filling out, they're customizable, completely customizable. You can set up however you want in terms of your onboarding process or your intake process. All right. And start date of his project. Project's going to start on Monday, and the type of project is going to be website design project. All right, when I press submit on this button, it's going to add another line to this form that I have right here. So it's going to capture the data number 16. There was some additional data that was here, but I scrubbed the dot, so it's just going to proceed below that one. So let me go ahead, close that one, and click on submit. Boom. And I go back into this form, number 16, dd.com, New York, New York, and it has all of the information. So on the back end, I'm using one of the automation tools that is similar to Zapier. It's called Pabbly-Connect, but that is the brains behind this stuff. So what happens is the Google form uploads all of this information that I have here. And on the back end, I have Pabbly sitting in the cut just waiting for some new information. It's saying, yeah, send me some data, send me some data. So this triggers automatically once every hour or so. So if I have a whole bunch of documents, it'll trigger within that hour. But for the interest of this particular video, we're not gonna wait an hour. I'm gonna trigger it manually. The trigger phase or field on this one is the P field. So I'm just gonna trigger this. I'm just gonna update that to random variable. You'll notice right away that once I do that, it starts to create the automation, and it's going to read that information, and it fills the smart task, which is my project tool ID, and then it also creates the customer agreement. So it adds an agreement ID, and then also it adds an agreement itself. So now we have an agreement. Pretty awesome stuff. So now in the workflow, we have an ID that we can look at. So this is the Mickey deal, but the Donald deal is going to be exactly the same way. In terms of the project tool, you can use whatever project tool that you want. That's the beauty about this modular stuff. So like if you have a ClickUp or an Asana or one of those type tools that has an API interface, or API technical term, but an application interface, you can send this data straight there. So yes, I have a task card. These are some tasks, just some basic information. And so when we're going through this process and we're doing things, there's going to be some manual stuff. So like for instance, that partnership agreement that we sent off to be created, the agreement is created, but we don't send it off yet because we want to review it. There may be some typos in the names, on the company name, or the business address. And we want to make sure that that stuff is correct as possible. So we allow a manual intervention there, so that way someone can look through it. All right, so let me go through the workflow real quick. I'm trying to keep this thing short and sweet. I don't know how short or how sweet it is going to be, but just to give you guys, just a high level understanding. So basically, what's happening on the back end? What's under the hood? So this is this Pabbly tool I was telling you about. So essentially what happens is when someone uploads a new row into that spreadsheet, and that can be coming from your website again or from that Google form, do these tasks. So the very first thing that we need to do is we need to create some variables or have them completed or created and completed. So one of the variables that we need is today's date. So everything is built around today's date. We want to know how long the contract needs to sit out there as a task. Typically that's like 24 hours. So that's 24 hours from today's date, which is why we have this line right here. Also, we want to know how long the client has to sign the agreement too. That's going to be another field that goes into that contract when we create the contract. So we have a calculation for that. And then there's just some basic formatting in there because these tools, some of them take the data in Unix format or whatever format, but just know that the data has to be formatted a certain way. Okay, so I'm super excited about this workflow. I know this is a lot of stuff and I'm going through a lot of stages, but just think about this. I'm going through this workflow and I saved almost a day, maybe 2 days worth of work. And I did like 5 minutes. How much time are you wasting in your business? We definitely need to talk about your website strategy. All right. So next task I have is to create that task in Smart Task. And then this is also for some lookup information. But basically this Smart Task is my project management tool. So it creates a ticket there. After it creates a ticket, it goes back to that Google Sheet that we made and it looks up the rows and then it updates that row with the Smart Task ID. And that's how we got this ID. That's the GUID for the ID. The important part of that is that in future steps that I create, I can actually reference that ID and I can automatically, programmatically move that card to a new lane. Let's say the client paid. I can change the status of the ticket to closed, or I can move it to another swim lane to do another step or another process. So that's why we capture the Smart Task ID. All right. And I know I'm talking about some technical stuff here. It's been a while since I really made a technical video, but I can't help myself. I'm a tech guy. All right. So the next thing that we do after that is we go to what's called a router in Pabbly land, but Zapier may call it something different. But basically, this is your conditional logic. This is your if, then, else statement. So what we have here saying, and actually there's going to be a bunch of routes. So this will be one route for each type of agreement that we have available. So what we have here is that it says if only continue if the contract type is equal to web design. If it's equal to web design, then I want you to create the client or update. This is actually a create or update field. Create the client in the proposal software, and then I want you to create the proposal with all of that client information. So this is what the proposal name is going to be. These are the fields: the business name and the website URL and the project, and then due date, company name, and then contact email. And then after that's all done, we're going to take the cell information and update that. We're going to take the information from that agreement that was just created, and we're going to upload that into our master database spreadsheet. So now we know the contract ID, and then we also have the URL for that contract. So if we need to review that proposal, if we want to send that off to another team for review, let's say we have an internal legal team or even an external legal team, we can actually add another task that says send email and embed that link into the email. Really, really cool stuff. Anyway, this is like just a high level of these proposals and these things that you can do. So like another stage of this would be what happens, what do you do after the agreement is signed? So after the agreement is signed, you can actually send out an invoice automatically via Stripe, or you can create a workspace for them in your workspace tool. Let's say you have a client portal application like Honeybook or Dipsado, or you can take that same information and you can do some additional processing, whatever the processing that you need for your business. And then also, like once the agreement is signed, you may have a PDF. You can create another workflow to take that PDF and download it automatically into a folder that is stored indefinitely in your data repository. Anyway, really cool stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, this is Edward here from the webpagesite.com. We make websites awesome. Don't forget to do the thing to smash that button to like and to subscribe to this particular channel. And then drop your comments in below as well. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. I'm going to continue this series at some point in the future. If you have anything that you want me to cover in detail, just DM me or put it in the comments below. All right, I'll see you all next video.